There are a number of advantages to being a part of a network. One of them is the solidarity that comes from a group of people that is knowledgeable of the area that you're working in. Social enterprise is a particular business model. It operates in selling products and services and then redistributing that profit back into the social mission to make it more sustainable. But the types of areas that social enterprise cover could be education, it could be marketing, finance, it could be health and well-being, it could be sport, it could be a number of different areas. And so it is not necessarily limited to one of those themes. So with social enterprise, there's a more awareness of the type of model that is being used, and not everybody in the business sector or the charity, community and voluntary sector know about it. It's a very specific area in itself. So having a group of people that are knowledgeable and experienced all meet together as part of a network is quite helpful. One of the advantages of that is that it's like-minded people, and there's a certain element of trust that can be built up. We like to think of it as safety in the fact that when you speak about developing something, but not for your own private profit, but for the benefit society or the environment, people have shared knowledge of that experience, and so they're more than willing to help and share their own lifetime of experience. Once we've got that safety, then hopefully there's some fun and we can be interactive, and then hopefully from that trust is built so that learning can happen. We're delighted that the network has been able to bring together so many players, both who are social enterprises as well as support organizations over the years, to be able to foster a good community. That the ability of the network is not necessarily in running sessions. It is the ability for us to be able to run sessions that people get together, that they can then have their own private conversation. We don't believe that every success from the network comes from us running a training workshop or seminar. It comes from people who have built genuine bonds over a shared problem or challenge, and they are able to chat to each other to be able to further deal with those issues when they come up. Of course, one of the disadvantages of the network is that it's incredibly hard to maintain. People are very enthusiastic to join the network, come to the first sessions, but they're not going to come to everything. And so once they've established part of the network and what they've achieved, we shouldn't be encouraging them to come along to everything if it isn't relevant or valid. What we should be doing is trying to make it as valid to them where they're at and meet them where they're at. So all of those social enterprises have benefits that they see from the network, but not all of the time. So just to break it down, we've got people who are interested in starting a social enterprise, people who have started it but in the early days, and people who are long established. So having something that is relevant to all those groups is not necessarily possible each time that we run an event. So breaking it down into each category and running enough things for each category is really important. So targeting the users, figuring out what's most valid, and then working with those groups is the main advantages and disadvantages of working with a network.
Main advantages to being a member of a network are for sure the contacts and the connection that are built between the member, and then the possibility to know more about EU policy debate. Belonging to ENSI is also crucial because you are sure, being a member of ENSI, that your interests are defended at EU level. And at the same time, ENSI tries to support its member through capacity building activity. For sure, there's a big disadvantage that is the one that being part of a network requires time. ENSI, in fact, is sometimes asking for feedback from comments on different positions in order to represent the sector. And for doing this, so for giving to ENSI the contribution, every member use time that is time on the top of their normal job.
So I can see many advantages in belonging to a network. And they are mainly the knowledge you gain, the inspiration that others can give you, the list of contacts you gain also, obviously, the possibilities to work together now or in the future in new projects, and the fact you have a collective voice and a different strength because we are all united. As for disadvantages, the first one that I can identify is that there is no financial resources to streamline the network, and actually it requires constant resource mobilization. So there is a lot of voluntary work that has to be done by people who already have a lot of work in their hands. So I think that can be sort of a disadvantage. Also, some members of this network can have specific expectations, and if the other members are not aligned, maybe they can feel a little frustrated.
We can say that we can see a lot of advantage in to be part of a network, and we cannot really find some disadvantage. We think that it's important, the sharing of information, the sharing of knowledge. It's very important to be to work in connection with the others and to learn mutually. The knowledge is the power, so it's not really, there is nothing to lose in work with other organizations with the same goals.